Namaste and welcome to Erica Bassani of Italy. And thank you so much, Erica, for taking time to speak with us. And we
Thank
know that you've just been to India and gone back home. So, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what brought you to India first?
Yeah, thank you so much, Arpana, for inviting me to this conversation, getting to know. And what brought me to India actually 10 years ago for the first time when I was 19. And I was brought by the interest on Auroville as the work of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother had was having an impact on my life, on my spiritual journey. So I came to Auroville, and from there I traveled in the south of India. And for me, it was an incredible experience the first time in India, because coming from the Western world, to be honest, I was a little bit disenchanted with life, but I was feeling there was another way of living. I was sure about it. And when I arrived in India and I saw all of that creativity that is so much presence in the streets, this aliveness, these so many colors, this beauty, I found it extremely beautiful and inspiring, and it has really given me a courage in life. So I feel a very deep connection with India and a lot of gratitude to this place, because for me it is still represents something that the world needs very much, which is reliving in magic and and also, in the power of karma. I remember for the first time that I was some Indian friends were talking to me about the karma, and I didn't know what was it. So it was a beautiful initiation also, in a way, on so many levels.
Was that by yourself? Do young people from Italy come to India alone to experience? Usually, we have this gap year concept, which is in India is not much. Students don't go outside India for gap year, but I've seen in US, in Europe, they take a break after studies and travel alone to discover themselves and their interests. So, was that something like that for you?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was something like that because I had started the university, but I was not happy about it. And I really needed to find what really I wanted to do. Because sometimes in the educational journey, we never have the time to really understand what is our dharma, what are we here to dedicate ourselves to. So for me, the journey to India was also that, was taking a moment to have another point of view on myself also, and on the world, and on how I want to live as a young woman.
So, how did you start your organization where you look at women spiritual leaders?
Yeah,
And
I have
what
to
led
say,
you to that path?
yeah, it's not yet an organization. For now, it's a project. And I started last year when I was in India again. So inspired by the Gange, I started looking into female masters, because in my own spiritual journey, I did not had any female role models to look at. I've been practicing in Buddhism for many years. I mean, since I was 20, and dedicating a lot into this Buddhist path. But all of a sudden, last year, I realized I needed some female role models, some women that can, be there and share what is their journey about, and how did they face what they, the struggles that comes with it, and dealing with the emotional world of a woman, and so on. And so I took it very on me as a personal mission, and I started going going to find and interview female masters of all spiritual traditions, because it's very dear to me, the idea that there are infinite ways to reach to the truth. So there is not one path better than the other. And although, of course, for each of us, there could be one path that is better than the other, and it's our path. But so in general, I like to promote the possibility of exploring in infinite ways, and really appreciating the diversity also in the spiritual world. So I went to find a Tibetan Buddhist nun, which I really respected and I knew since a long time, Tenzin Palmo. And from there, a journey unfolded. And I interviewed last year 8 female masters. And I wrote a book about it, which will be published in Italy in December for Christmas. And so, so it was from that journey that the idea of creating a Woman Awakening project was born, because I realized that indeed there is a need of this. Indeed, there is a lot to discover, which has not yet been really explored, the spirituality on the perspective of women. So I really want to dedicate myself to this, and collaborating with other people, other professionals, to make this journey more and more beautiful and available for everybody to get inspired, both men and women.
Thank you, and congratulations on your forthcoming book. And just today, a colleague of mine shared the contact of a lady, apparently the only lady tantric practitioner from Kerala. So, what happens? We are having a 1 month oneness festival where we focus on one aspect of our scriptures. And most of the talks are focused on the teachings rather than on the individual, where the teachings come from. Even when we talk about our texts, the focus in spiritual messages seems to be on the message, not on the messenger.
Yeah.
Biographical details are very few, and they are not emphasized as much as what is their philosophy or their spiritual message. So is that, and in the case of women, we have very few practitioners. Even in Tibet, I heard that only now you have either women are allowed to graduate to become monks. I'm not sure if I'm correct. So what have you, in your research and your interaction, known how it was in the past, Erica? Is this something that has changed, that focus being less on the individual and on women spiritual leaders? Has it changed over centuries?
I think in a way, of course, women have always been active, I would say, in the spiritual world, and also from the women I interviewed, this is coming out a lot. But for example, in the Christian world, what happened that many Christian mystics, women, were really facing so many obstacles, to share their own experience. And it seems like also in Buddhism nowadays, in certain traditions, nuns don't have equal rights to the monks. So even if we are in this spiritual world, which is about breaking free from conditionings and identities, there are still some powerful conditionings relating to gender. So that's why, although the importance is on the message, on the spiritual truth, let's say, I felt it's crucial also right now to bring attention on the individuals and their own struggles in certain traditions to reach that equality, which really has to be there also in order for the spiritual journey to advance. A certain struggles, let's say, we can do without, I think, right now.
So, whom did you interview in India in your recent visit, and what were the fascinating conversations that you had? What were their lives like?
So I started with Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, who is a British Tibetan nun who lives in Himachal Pradesh, in the Kangra Valley. And she has founded a nunnery for Himalayan nuns, exactly because Himalayan nuns often struggle a lot in their journey to find a place to practice, to find support to practice, to find the teachings. And so she created this center where there are 100 nuns. They're very beautiful, young. They can dedicate all their day to studying. They have a beautiful program. So talking with Jetsunma as a first interview I did was extremely inspiring, because she was really encouraging me on this journey, saying that it is indeed very important to gather strength as women, also among each other, in this spirit of sisterhood, and without, of course, without anger and resentment, but with joy, because we are here to bring, harmony and beauty. We are here to bring a force which is very powerful when we unite our forces. So this from her. Then in Rishikesh, I met a Taoist priestess. A Taoist priestess, a French woman. She's a neuroscientist, Karine Martin. And then she went to China to do some research, and she had a mystical experience, and she became a nun. And she lived in China for 15 years. And also she was telling me about how in Taoism, for example, there is extreme equality between men and women. She can perform rites. She can be a head of a whole monastery of monks. And I found this very beautiful. I didn't know about it, because it seems like we are all struggling in the spiritual world, but evidently some are not. So it's good also to remember this. And then I really appreciate that she said in Tao Te Ching, which is the main spiritual text they have, it is said how the strongest force in the universe is the soft force. It's not the hard force of doing things with harshness, doing things like aggressively, but is to be soft. It is very strong. The gentleness is a very strong force. Then I met Vanamali Mataji, is an Indian lovely woman, also in Rishikesh. She has an ashram. She's a Krishna devotee. And I was going every night to her ashram because it's a very familiar, homely environment. And I was going there for the puja of the night. Chanting all together. And she brought this, I didn't know much about Hinduism by then. And she told me how in Hinduism, all women are sacred. They are really taken in high consideration, in the sense that each one of us is a part of the Divine Mother, we could say, or part and expression of a Shakti energy. And so how some of the taboos that are we know as taboos related of Indian culture, they actually are meant to protect women also in their journey. And then this year, instead, I was in Tiruvannamalai. And Tiruvannamalai, I also interviewed a couple of lovely ladies, among which Devakima. Devakima has been a disciple of Yogiram Surat Kumar. and she's now there in the ashram, living the ashram, and she told me about their encounter, how it was for her as a young woman to meet her guru. I was very touched by her story, and there are many more. I think this is enough.
This is lovely. And you've mentioned three non-Indians who have settled here. So, what is it that attracts them to practice their own spiritual leaning in India? I mean, you
Mm.
would expect them to go back to their country and practice. I'm just saying, or what is it about Rishikesh or Thiruvannamalai as centers that attract people in this path?
Yeah, I have to say, for example, Karine Martin was just passing by Rishikesh. She stays in France most of the time. But I think, India have mm, is really a fertile spiritual environment. I think if we go there with the right intention of searching within, and it feels like there is a constant support somehow, and it is a bit more encouraging, For example, I we can see so many divinities constantly. One is constantly exposed to forms of devotion, which in the West we have lost. We are really, unfortunately, we lost the capacity of being humble and having devotion for something bigger than us. So I think that is what many Westerners look for, because there is something that is sustaining the practice.
One person had said that, among all the soft powers, we talk about yoga, Ayurveda, and, Sanskrit, we talk about places to visit. But he said, the freedom to pursue any knowledge, to be free to access knowledge, find a guru, do what you want, irrespective of where you come from, where you're going. That freedom for seeking is what attracts people. Is that something that you've experienced?
The freedom of seeking, you mean because there are so many possibilities?
Yeah, like for instance, certain traditions force a certain religion, or they force a certain lifestyle or force. But in India, the freedom to choose any path, to
Yeah,
go to any university or any guru, irrespective of who you are, is very sacred. That everybody should have that freedom.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. In this sense, I think it is very encouraging, because there are there are these multiple ways of being in contact with the divine, which are playing out, and so one can really like feel what resonates with them. And I mean, I heard many stories, right, of Westerners going to India and they really like find their path there, because and so you are exposed in a way to so many things that you think, oh, you could get lost, or you could get end up doing some spiritual tourism, but no, I think it's the intention is genuine. There will be, there will be a spontaneous flowing into what's right for you. So in this way, it's yeah, it gives more opportunity. Probably it makes it easier, a little bit easier.
Erica, in my own, exploration of divinity and learning, I have found two paths are there. One we call a bhakti, which is this devotion. Another we call jnana, which is knowledge. So, I used to think that bhakti is enough. Just loving the divine is enough for this path, because that was to me, that was easier, just surrendering to these mystical experiences. But there is also the rigor of the knowledge. And I assume that, being a woman, that rigor, it's tough for me to be that kind of, to have that discipline to learn things. But I find many women are, committed to, especially we have Chinmaya mission, where a lot of the lady Swaminis have dedicated several years to learning. They're not just, they're monks because they have gone through a very rigorous training and learning system. So how does, in your experience, what comes to the fore? Is it their knowledge? When you talk to them, are they able to, impress us with their knowledge of the text and the tradition and its history? Or is it just, their inner illumination which just, captures us?
Mm. Yeah, good question. I really believe that in this sense, it's more about the mind, like the type of mind. Some people connect more with the bhakti path, and I think I am also a devotional type, and some others with a jnana journey of knowledge. I think the women I interviewed, they have knowledge of their tradition. Like they actually have been studying a lot. The practices, the various practices to keep also the tradition, but I would say what stands out is not so much the knowledge, while the direct experience, which is something very, yeah, very simple in a way, very direct, which doesn't need any form of any form of study, any form of because it is a direct knowledge. So yeah, so I think that is that comes before there is like the direct experience, and then there is wanting to understand better the system you are belonging to, and where these practices are coming from, and if there is a Sanskrit language behind, or whatever language, and the meaning of that particular world and the sacredness of it. I think it comes after in what I have seen.
So what next, Erica? You've written a book, you're traveling around, and obviously there must be a lot of satisfaction and personal transformation for you. So what next in your journey towards knowing more about these women spiritual monks?
Yeah, so the journey is very exciting, and I really feel it. I'm just in the beginning because I would like to write more books, collect more stories. The next step, really, right now, is I will go to France in June for a tour in France with a friend of mine, Karine, who is a filmmaker. So we will do some very nice video interviews there, and then back to Italy, and then back to India. So the plan is to continue to do video interviews. There is also a documentary in progress, and writing books. And the vision is very big, but one step at a time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Erica. And if there's anything that Indic Academy can do to facilitate your research in India, please do let us know.
Yeah, for
It's really
sure.
fascinating.
I always need some help, some magic help. Yes. Yeah, thank you so
We would also like to publicize your book once it's out. So, all the best.
much. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
namaste.
Namaste.